YCS Pittsburgh is now just finally concluded, and as far as we're concerned, this is the correct and official top cut standings is posted on the Konami blog, and this is how they've decided to categorize and define the deck archetypes and the deck lists into these various categories. So these are just my initial thoughts, and most likely we'll do some kind of an in-depth kind of discussion and meta analysis sometime during the week once we get a couple of the profiles and see if there's any sort of spice in there. But one thing that initially didn't jump out at me, but now that I've realized, if we take a quick look at this chart here, we can see that 32 decks in the 32 that topped YCS Pittsburgh, all of them ran a zoo engine. And that's really good for some people, and for other people that's just the worst thing ever, because it feels like we are kind of back to square one. This engine is just extremely powerful, of course, and someone put it really well on Facebook when they gave the analogy that opening a rat combo with Fusion Sub is like something about like 82% consistent, right? That's like you have literally like 4/5 of your hand are going to open a full Fusion Sub combo, and post ban list it's still just as consistent as before, minus one rat. You still have your Terratops, barrages, etc, etc. So, and hypothetically it's even more consistent now because we have plants as well that you can play to get you there a little bit faster. Now the reason that is because we got a new card called Chakra 9 or Laika, and that essentially helps not really replace, but it definitely fills a lot of the holes that missing one rat on the ban list did to the deck. So basically the Fusion Sub combo is just as consistent, if not more consistent and powerful than it ever was before in the TCG, even before the ban list. So realistically, for that reason alone, I think that goes without saying, yeah, Zoo is really powerful because of that. Just because it's still going to be doing the full Fusion Sub combo as it did before. Nothing's changed, essentially, for the most part. So, again, some people are going to be really happy about that, some people are going to really hate that. I am on the opinion that that is the worst thing ever. So, even less reason to play the game competitively right now, honestly. That combo going first is ridiculous. Of course, we got the Ghost Dash hand trap, so it's not that bad. Like, we still have quite a few ways to deal with that. You know, a lot of people mining Ghost Ogres, and the Ashes. So realistically, that's 6 hand traps. You would expect that would be enough to kind of make the format a little bit more healthy, but I've never been a big fan of the Fusion Sub combo in the sense that never been a fan of it in this for the game, like mechanically. Like, of course I would play it because it's absurd, but I don't think it should be in the game because it's just ridiculous. So yeah, that's the initial thoughts on Zoo. One thing that I was surprised about is just how much pure Zoo representation there was. True Draco not as popular as I expected. I kind of expected them to sort of swap places, really, is what I kind of predicted initially. I thought maybe Draco Zoo would take 2/3 and Pure Zoo would take about 1/3. So yeah, it's a little bit surprising. Next we have Kaiju Zoo. I think is quite a solid deck choice. It just has an all-round great matchup against everything. There's nothing it's particularly weak or bad against. Literally, like, every deck that you can think of, Kaiju Zoo is good at. Like, it's really just solid against everything, but doesn't particularly excel at any specific things, perhaps. So just an all-round very, very solid, consistent deck, and a very, very just, you know, refined choice. This is bread and butter. It literally is just bread and butter. So then we have Plant Zoo. I really don't know if this actually is a heavier plant engine until we do get the, you know, deck lists out, but as far as I'm concerned, I think that's probably just going to be a pure Zoo deck with Scorpios and the Garnet Dude. So I really don't know why it has its own category unless you are literally playing Lone Fires and Dandelions and I don't even know what else, but I would safely assume that this is basically just another pure Zoo deck with the plant engine. Realistically, I don't really know why people wouldn't play the plant engine anyway, because it is really strong, but I guess it does lose really hard to Ghost Dash. It could be a reason why people didn't play it. Next is Zoonoid, and it's a deck that I think people might be a little bit surprised at. I think if there was just one Zoonoid deck in the top cut, then it would just sort of be of the opinion, well, you know, it's whatever. Someone obviously got lucky, but because of the fact that there's two here, well, I guess maybe that would suggest there's a little bit of consistency in power here, and perhaps we need to actually sit down and talk about this deck, because 2 spots means that, you know, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, well, maybe I gotta start fucking thinking about my deck choices again. So it could be a really good sleeper deck. It definitely is round about the meta category. I don't think it would be out of the meta. Something to always consider is that Infernoid and Deviatis and Uranunkus are always going to be running around, and those are just, they have a very like stronger True Draco matchup than Pure Zoo, maybe. At least not, like, as I think about it hypothetically, I feel like they would have a good matchup there, so maybe that's where a lot of their wins came from. I'm not too sure. Finally, we have Paleo. Paleo is obviously just a really strong deck. In general, it's just super weak to Masterpiece decks. So, you know, it could be that maybe the true Masterpiece didn't have as much of a showing as we initially expected, but it did a thing. I would probably safely assume that this is maybe just a little bit of variance here. I really don't think Paleo are that much of a good contender. Especially this weird amalgamation of putting Zoo in your deck, which I don't think is particularly correct. I feel like maybe just lots and lots of traps, and basically Josh's list from Prague would essentially be the best way to play this deck, obviously with a little bit of tuning. But, you know, for the most part, I think that kind of style is maybe what you're looking for. Especially lawn mowing is even stronger now because of the fact that, well, a lot of people are dropping back down to 40, 41, 42 cards. So, you know, the only real people running 60 card decks are the people who just really like using Ultra Pro sleeves or something, I don't know. So there's always a reason to play Paleo. It's just, again, it's kind of like Kaiju Zoo, but a little bit weaker. It is sort of like good against everything, with, you know, just with the exception that it is particularly weak against Masterpiece. So that's my initial thoughts here. I don't really have much else to say, I guess. Looking forward, I think that the biggest surprise that I actually forgot to talk about here is the fact that there's no dinosaurs whatsoever. There is absolutely no dinos, none at all. No little baby Ceratosaurus engine here, no little like Oviraptor. Well, again, it potentially could be, like, this is just from the Konami blog, and Konami aren't like really notorious for categorizing their decks and like blogs particularly well, so maybe there is like a couple of dinos in Top Cut. We'll just, like I said, we have to wait and see until the deck profiles start coming out. So as far as I can see, and as far as I could imagine and assume, I don't think there would be any dino decks here. Like the Draco Zoo category we have here, with the third of taking 8 Top Cut spots, that might have a couple of dino decks in it, and Konami just chose not to label it as such because it was just such a small engine, and, you know, sometimes they do that. Who really knows? Like, I would probably assume like maybe they're just straight up isn't any dino decks. So again, that's really surprising. The deck has an insane first turn if you can open like just any 2-card combo. Like, I'm pretty sure like Diagram and like a baby ends with like VFD and something. And if you have like Terratop plus any 2-card combo of those, then, well, you've got like Zoo combo as well. And then there's even ways to like make Nat Beast and just really, really ridiculous boards that not even like fucking, well, I mean, the only thing that could really stop it would be someone stupid like Winged Dragon of Ra and his little baby balls, if you know what I'm saying. So I am a little bit surprised that there was absolutely none whatsoever. The deck is obviously very weak to hand traps, and it's obviously very, well, I wouldn't say very weak, but it is a little bit hard for the deck to go second. Or is it really, though? I mean, like, you have Diagram and a baby, like, that's so many ways to just play through your opponent's deck without, like, you know, using your normal summon or anything. So for good measure, I think that it was a bit of a strange thing. Like, the representation of the deck was probably really high. I would assume there's a lot of people playing the Dino deck just because it's so cheap, right? Because it's a structure deck. So obviously a lot of people who showed up here probably played, you know, like pure dinosaurs, or like just a couple of like random little like engines and techs here and there with dinosaurs. But for the most part, very, very shocked, because I think it would have been quite a highly represented deck just because of its accessibility. So a little bit strange that it didn't come up in the top cut. And that's yeah, so sorry, I forgot about the dinos there. That's basically all my thoughts here. I might do a little bit more of an in-depth analysis with some friends later in the week, but as far as I can tell, there is much to see for the future. I think it will be interesting how this format like develops and evolves, and not gonna be making any bets or calling out any potential best decks for now. So I guess next event will be CCG Milan next weekend, so make sure you guys tune into that stream. I'll be commentating it and streaming live from Italy, so I'd like to see you guys join out there. Thanks everyone for watching. This has been my thoughts on Pittsburgh.